I can understand how you guys feel. It's the worst possible feeling. It's confusion, it's anger, it's just an overall broken.
He may be one of country music's biggest stars, a chart-topping singer, a beloved coach on The Voice, and a household name across America. But behind the fame, fortune, and charming smile of Blake Shelton lies a story of heartbreak, loss, and struggles that shaped the man we know today. At 49, Blake Shelton's life has been marked by tragedies that few fans truly understand. This is the story of the pain he endured, the battles he fought, and the resilience that carried him forward. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see Blake Shelton forever. Blake Shelton's story begins in Ada, Oklahoma, a quiet town where the open skies stretched for miles, and country music wasn't just entertainment. It was a way of life. Born on June 18, 1976, Blake was raised in a family that instilled in him the values of hard work, humility, and perseverance. His father, Richard Shelton, was a used car salesman, and his mother, Dorothy, owned a beauty salon. Life was simple, but it was rich in the things that truly mattered: family, community, and tradition. From an early age, Blake showed a spark of creativity that set him apart. By the time he was 12, he had learned to play the guitar, and just 2 years later, he was writing his own songs. The young boy who once strummed chords in his bedroom was beginning to dream of stages far bigger than anything Ada could offer. Encouraged by his family, especially his older brother Richie and his mother Dorothy, Blake began to see music as more than just a hobby. It was his calling. By the time he graduated high school at 17, Blake was already a well-known figure in his hometown. He performed at local events, fairs, and small gatherings, captivating audiences with his deep voice and natural charm. But Blake was never satisfied with being a local talent. He knew that if he wanted to turn his passion into a career, he had to leave Ada behind and chase his dreams in Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music. That decision wasn't an easy one. Leaving his small-town comfort for the uncertainty of Nashville meant stepping into a world of fierce competition. But Blake had something many aspiring musicians lacked: determination. In 1994, armed with little more than his guitar and his ambition, he packed his bags and moved to Nashville. It was a leap of faith, but one he was ready to take. Nashville tested him in ways Ada never could. The city was overflowing with talent, and for every dreamer who made it big, dozens more faded into obscurity. Blake struggled at first, working odd jobs while trying to make connections in the music industry. He faced rejection, long nights of self-doubt, and the relentless pressure of proving himself. But what kept him going was the memory of his family back home, cheering him on, and the encouragement of his late brother Richie, whose belief in Blake's talent had always been unwavering. In 2001, after years of persistence, Blake's big break finally came. His debut single, Austin, soared to #1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart and stayed there for 5 weeks. Practically overnight, the small-town boy from Ada became one of the most talked-about names in country music. Critics praised his voice, fans adored his down-to-earth persona, and Nashville insiders recognized his potential to become a true star. But behind the success story of Austin and the new life it created for Blake, there was an undercurrent of pain. The joy of making it big was bittersweet, because one person was missing from the celebration: his brother Richie, whose tragic death years earlier had left a wound that never fully healed. Even as Blake climbed the ranks of country stardom, the memory of Richie remained close to his heart, shaping his outlook on life and music in ways the public would soon come to understand. Blake's rise to fame was a testament not just to his talent, but to his resilience. The boy from Ada had made it to Nashville, conquered the odds, and captured the hearts of millions. But as the spotlight grew brighter, So too did the shadows of the tragedies that had shaped him. Behind Blake Shelton's easygoing smile and playful sense of humor lies a scar that has never fully healed. Long before fame, awards, and television cameras, Blake endured a tragedy that would shape the course of his life and career forever: the loss of his beloved older brother, Richie Shelton. Richie wasn't just Blake's brother. He was his role model, his protector, and his biggest supporter. 7 years older than Blake, Richie had a deep love for music himself, often introducing his younger brother to artists and songs that would later inspire his own career. To Blake, Richie represented everything he wanted to be: cool, confident, and someone who believed in him without hesitation. The bond between them was more than just sibling love. It was unshakable. But in 1990, when Blake was just 14 years old, tragedy struck. Richie was killed in a car accident in Oklahoma at the age of 24. The devastating news shattered the Shelton family. For Blake, the loss was unbearable. One day he had a brother cheering him on, encouraging him to chase his dreams, and the next, he was gone forever. The death of Richie became a turning point in Blake's life. Losing someone so young, so full of life, left Blake with questions that had no answers. He once admitted in interviews that he struggled to process the grief and that for a long time it felt impossible to move forward. The pain was especially difficult because Richie had been such a guiding presence in Blake's life. Without him, Blake felt as though a part of his own identity had been ripped away. This tragedy would not only shape Blake personally, but also artistically. Much of the raw emotion that fans hear in his music, the vulnerability, the honesty, and the deep emotional resonance, can be traced back to Richie's death. Songs like Over You, which he co-wrote with Miranda Lambert years later, reflect that profound sense of loss. The lyrics, inspired by Richie, serve as a tribute to a brother whose absence Blake still feels every day. The song became one of his most personal creations, striking a chord with fans who had faced their own losses. Richie's death also shaped Blake's perspective on life. It gave him a deeper appreciation for family, relationships, and the fleeting nature of time. Friends have often remarked that Blake's humor and charm are not just natural traits, but also coping mechanisms, a way to bring light into his life and the lives of those around him, despite the darkness he once endured. In many ways, Blake has carried Richie with him throughout his career. Whether it's in the stories he tells, the songs he writes, or the heartfelt performances he delivers, his brother's influence is always present. He once said that he thinks about Richie every single day, and that the tragedy made him more determined to succeed, not just for himself, but as a way of honoring his brother's memory. For fans, it's easy to see Blake as the smiling coach on The Voice or the charismatic country superstar. But behind that persona is a man who knows what it means to grieve deeply, to carry loss quietly while the world sees only the spotlight. The heartbreaking loss of Richie didn't just mark a chapter in Blake Shelton's story, it defined much of the man he would become. As Blake's career soared, the pain of his brother's death remained a constant reminder of life's fragility. And while the world celebrated his music and success, Blake himself often looked back, carrying Richie's memory as both a source of pain and a source of strength. By the early 2000s, Blake Shelton had transformed from a hopeful small-town singer into one of Nashville's brightest stars. His deep baritone voice and heartfelt songs quickly earned him recognition, and his career began to soar. Hits like Austin, Some Beach, and The Baby cemented his place in country music, while his good looks and charm made him a fan favorite. From the outside, Blake seemed to have it all: a thriving career, a growing fan base, and the promise of a long, successful future in the industry. But as the spotlight grew brighter, so did the shadows in his personal life. Fame brought incredible opportunities, but it also brought pressures and challenges that weighed heavily on him. Blake's first marriage to Kaynette Williams, his high school sweetheart, ended in 2006 after 3 years. The split was painful and public, but Blake tried to keep moving forward. It wasn't long before he found love again, this time with fellow country superstar Miranda Lambert. Their relationship was a fairy tale in the eyes of fans, two of country music's most talented artists coming together. They married in 2011, and for a while, they seemed inseparable, performing together on stage and supporting each other's careers. Yet behind the glamorous image, cracks began to show. The pressures of being in the public eye, long periods apart due to demanding schedules and constant tabloid speculation, began to take a toll on their marriage. Rumors of jealousy, infidelity, and disagreements circulated endlessly, and though the couple tried to silence the noise, the strain became too much. In 2015, Blake and Miranda announced their divorce, shocking fans and the country music community alike. For Blake, the divorce was devastating. He later admitted that he hit rock bottom during that period, describing it as one of the darkest chapters of his life. Not only was he dealing with the end of a marriage, but he was also facing it while under intense media scrutiny. Everywhere he turned, headlines dissected his personal pain, making it nearly impossible to grieve privately. Adding to the emotional weight, Blake was still carrying the lifelong pain of losing his brother Richie. Grief has a way of resurfacing. During moments of vulnerability and the heartbreak of divorce brought back memories of past losses. Fans saw him smiling and joking on television, particularly as a coach on The Voice, but behind the scenes, he was struggling to keep himself together. Music once again became his outlet. Blake poured his emotions into his songs, channeling heartbreak, regret, and resilience into lyrics that resonated with millions. His music during this period carried a rawness that reflected his personal battles, and it reminded fans that beneath the superstar image was a man grappling with real struggles. But beyond the music, Blake also leaned on the support of friends, family, and his colleagues. His time on The Voice not only gave him a platform to showcase his humor and mentoring skills, but also provided him with a sense of stability during a turbulent time. Surrounded by fellow artists and contestants who looked up to him, Blake found a new purpose, even as his personal life crumbled. The divorce may have been one of the hardest moments of Blake's life, but it was also a turning point. It forced him to reevaluate what he wanted, not only in love, but in life. And while the pain was raw and the headlines relentless, this chapter would eventually pave the way for something unexpected, a new chance at love and redemption. After the storm of his divorce from Miranda Lambert, many wondered if Blake Shelton would ever truly recover. Heartbreak can leave scars that never fully heal, and when combined with the lifelong grief of losing his brother Richie, the weight seemed almost unbearable. But as Blake himself has admitted in interviews, sometimes life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. That surprise came in the form of Gwen Stefani. Like Blake, Gwen had also endured the painful collapse of a marriage around the same time. Their shared heartbreak became the unlikely foundation of a deep connection. What began as friendship blossomed into love, and by 2015 the two were inseparable. Fans at first questioned the pairing: Blake, the down-to-earth Oklahoma cowboy, and Gwen, the glamorous California pop icon. But soon it became clear that their bond was real and healing. For Blake, Gwen wasn't just a romantic partner. She was a source of stability and joy during a time when he felt broken. In interviews, he often described how Gwen saved him, pulling him out of the darkest period of his life. Their relationship wasn't built on fame or industry pressure, but on shared pain, laughter, and the comfort of knowing someone truly understood what the other was going through. Yet even as he found happiness again, Blake never forgot the struggles that shaped him. The tragedy of Richie's death remained a permanent fixture in his heart, a reminder of how fleeting life can be. His experiences with loss, divorce, and heartbreak influenced not just his music, but also the way he approached life. Behind the humor, and laid-back charm fans see on The Voice, there's a man who has endured deep pain and learned to live with it. Blake's resilience became one of his defining traits. While some celebrities allow tragedy to consume them, Blake found ways to keep moving forward, honoring his past without letting it destroy him. His marriage to Gwen in 2021 marked a new chapter of joy, and he openly speaks about how grateful he is to have found love again later in life. Still, he often acknowledges that happiness doesn't erase tragedy. It simply makes it easier to bear. Professionally, Blake also experienced redemption. His continued success on The Voice introduced him to millions of fans who may not have been traditional country music listeners. His humor, authenticity, and genuine mentorship made him one of the most beloved figures on the show. Offstage, his music continued to reflect his personal journey, blending themes of love, loss, and resilience. But Blake has also been candid about the fact that fame does not shield anyone from pain. No matter how many awards he's won or how many records he's sold, he remains a man shaped by tragedy. His story resonates with fans precisely because it's not perfect. It's messy, heartbreaking, and deeply human. At 49, Blake Shelton stands as a symbol of survival. He has endured the unimaginable loss of a sibling, the heartbreak of failed marriages, and the crushing weight of public scrutiny. Yet he has also found love, purpose, and a renewed sense of hope. His journey reminds us that tragedy doesn't define us. It refines us, teaching us to hold tighter to the things and people that truly matter. In the end, Blake's story isn't just about heartbreak. It's about resilience. It's about a man who faced the darkest storms life could throw at him and still managed to step into the light. And while the tragedies of his past will always be part of him, so too will the strength he gained from surviving them.